don't know who this person is that keeps coming to my channel every day and saying, you are so biased. You are so biased. I can tell that you are against YNW Melly. Let me clear that up for you. I'm not biased. We're just going to act like we didn't see a first trial. Everybody who saw the first trial has come to some kind of a conclusion by now, right? So stop acting like the first trial did not happen. Stop acting like the prosecution did not lay out all those evidence that y'all need me to go over them for you, right? And with that said, I did form my opinion. My opinion is that YNW Melly is guilty. The only difference here is this. Now that there's going to be a new trial, I try to stay unbiased to the new information that's coming out, right? And that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be open to the new information that's coming out. Maybe something will come out that changes everything I saw in the first trial. Nothing has come out that changed that yet, but I'm still open to it, right? But with that said, stop coming over here talking about every day you put up a video or every video you put up a Melly. I can tell you don't like him, and I can tell you want this young man to go to prison. What the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about? I never just picked YNW Melly out of nowhere and just said, I want that young man right there to go to prison. That's crazy. Crazy. So anyhow, let's follow up on what's going on right now, and let me give you my honest opinion of where the case is at now and what I think is going to eventually happen. So shout out to Vibe. And we're taking this from Vibe just so we can have a guideline and some current information. This was printed on the 19th of October, 2023. New updated information. It says YNW Melly hit with new charges amid the witness tampering allegations. YNW Melly is now facing 6 new charges in connection to alleged witness tampering within his double homicide trial. Now, according to journalists Bryson Boom Paul and NCB6 Miami, the rapper, his co-defendant Cortland or Bortland Henry, YNW Bortland Henry, and a third person who was Terrence Mathis, they were all hit with the charges as part of a 5-page, 7-count information document. The crimes that the 3 men are accused of include directing the activities of a criminal gang, that's serious business, unlawful use of a two-way communication device, serious business, as well as solicitation and conspiracy to commit tampering. The filing was one of Alexandra Buckalew's first moves since replacing Christine Bradley, who was recused from the case at the defense's request as prosecutor. So, in other words, somebody said, why do you keep saying rescued instead of recused? You got to understand, right? I read fast, and sometimes I go recused, I'm rescued, but I correct myself because I know the difference between recused and rescued, right? Anyhow, recused means to take away or removed from. And rescued, of course, somebody is in trouble, you go help them out. That's rescued. And neither here nor there. So, Alexandra Buckalew's, she is the same person from the extentation trial, right? She is also, this is her first move. This is her first move since she got appointed. Let me tell you what I think is happening here. I think they took Christine Bradley off this case, and you know, in your workplace when you have some kind of a camaraderie, so everybody was rooting for Christine Bradley. They're like, go ahead girl, you got that, you got your case tight, everything is together. This is like a career changing kind of case, high profile, you nailed it, you put it in the bag, you got the trophy. She did all that preparation, put all that stuff together. To me, she did her job. You know, when you're doing your job really well, people start to hate you. She did her job very well in the first trial, and she became the enemy of a lot of people, especially a lot of people who who like YNW Melly and were rooting for YNW Melly, right? Mind you, she got removed from this case, not because she did anything wrong, and the judge already said it. The judge said she did nothing wrong. Her reputation is still intact. This is just a cautionary measure to remove her from this case. So they've removed her as a cautionary measure. Her homie has stepped in, Alexandra Buckaloo. Alexandra Buckaloo goes, so y'all removed my homegirl from the case and then took away something big from her. And what, y'all think because of that you guys are gonna throw this case off and get somebody who doesn't know how to handle a case properly, and then it'll create more loopholes for y'all to slide through and eventually get another mistrial or get this thrown out altogether and get Melly off? Nah, we coming in hot. We're coming in hard. So hold this. 6 new charges straight off the bat. First thing she does as she gets in, right? So Buckaloo, who famously helped convict the men who are responsible for the murder of late rapper XXXTentacion, she handed down the charges against YNW Melly, Bortland Henry, and Matheson on Wednesday, October 18th. Today is the 20th. Alright, on Tuesday, October 17th, Melly appeared at a court hearing in Broward County to determine whether there would be a delay of his looming trial due to the prosecutorial change. Due to the prosecutorial change. The prosecutor was removed from the case. Buckaloo and 2 others are now the prosecutors on the case. They went back to court on the 17th of October to determine, is that going to hold the case up? Is that going to make the case go slower, push the date, the date to start farther ahead? And while the state requested a delay in order to have more time to prepare for the trial, because the state was saying, well, Christine Bradley had this for 5 years, Your Honor. It was her baby. It was her thing she was working on. We didn't know much about it. Matter of fact, they actually said in court, we knew absolutely nothing about this case. This is Mrs. Bradley's case or Miss Bradley's case. And now that she is off of it and we have it, we need some time to get into this. But YNW Melly's attorneys disagreed. YNW Melly's attorneys, citing their client's right to a speedy trial, said, nope, no more time should be granted. Why should they, the state, benefit from what they have done wrong? See, they're still pushing the narrative that that the state did something wrong, and that's why Miss Bradley was removed from the case. That's not true. The judge clearly said she did nothing wrong. It's a cautionary measure. Yes, they did accuse. This is so ironic. They accused the prosecution of doing something wrong. They went before the judge. They laid their evidence or their side of the story. The prosecution laid their side of the story. The judge found no wrongdoing. Not to mention, not only did they want that in the first place, they had already filed a motion for the prosecution, the lead prosecutor, which is Bradley, to be removed from the case. They filed a motion for the lead detective, Moretti, to be removed from the case. They filed a motion for the entire Broward County Department to be removed from the case. They filed a motion for that case to be completely thrown out of court, dismissed. They also filed a motion for that case to never be tried again. So, and they filed a bunch of other motions, right? So it didn't go their way. The judge ruled that the trial would continue to move forward. Yes. Okay, so there will be no hesitation. There will be no waiting. The trial is just going to move forward from here on. With the jury selection process scheduled to begin, which it did on Wednesday. Remember, it was supposed to start on Monday. It ended up starting on Wednesday. Today is Friday the 20th. It started on the 18th. So there are 2 days into selecting jurors. And as far as I know, what information was put out, they would start off with like 120 to 150 people, and they would start like questioning them. Are you going to be able to make it? through the duration of this trial and all this other stuff. Now, Melly and Henry, which is Bortland Henry, they are charged in the 2018 murder. We know what they're in court for. Let's not go through that part. We know it's about Sack and Juvie and about coming from the recording studio that night and what happened to Sack and Juvie that night and how Bortland ended up at the hospital with 2 bodies in his car, and a story that does not match forensics. The story that does not match forensics is it was a drive-by. Well, they've been able to prove that it wasn't a drive-by. So somebody lied, right? Do y'all remember the first trial? See, this is why the first trial is important. YNW Melly's attorneys themselves got up in court and said, I don't know why my client is here. If anything, Bortland should be the one that's here. He's the one that showed up to the hospital with 2 bodies in the car. He's the one that told a story that did not actually match the forensics. That's what Melly's lawyers said. And when they said it, I said to myself, damn, they just threw Bortland under the bus. Because here they are standing in court admitting that Bortland's story of a drive-by did not match the forensics that proved that it wasn't a drive-by. But it wasn't Melly, it was Bortland. So why is he out on bail? Why is he out having fun living his life and Melly is locked up in here? Right. So with that said, jury selection is expected to take several weeks, and from there on we'll see what happens in this case. This is my honest opinion of what is going to happen in this case. I keep my mind open because I know that I've seen cases before where people go to court and they get off based on a loophole. They get off based on a hiccup. They get off based on one mistake from the prosecution. Not because they weren't guilty, not because they were found innocent, but because a hiccup. I call it a hiccup, right? So anything can happen, and I'm not in control of this case, so I can't speak to the ultimate. So I do keep my mind open, and I do try to stay unbiased. However, given what I saw in the first trial, it made me draw the conclusion that YNW Melly is guilty, and YNW Melly is not going to be able to beat this case. I already told y'all from the first time a couple of things. I said, for one, I think Bortland is slow, and it's not a disrespect. I think Bortland is slow as in Bortland has some learning disability, something going on with him where he is not fully there 100. Some people make fun of him and say stuff like, oh, yeah, you could tell he was on a yellow bus, short bus, and whatever. I don't want to do all that. I just think he has, if he is tested, you would find out that his IQ is probably very low. He is easily influenced and easily manipulated, right? And I think Melly, who seems to be very cunning and very intelligent, I think Melly kind of used that and used Bortland along the way. I don't know what he promised Bortland, fame and fortune. If you hold me down, then when I beat this case and we go on tour around the world and we're selling records and doing shows and commanding big fees, $100,000 a show, $250,000 a show, making a lot of money, you know, bust down watches, Rolexes and all this other, you know how the rap life goes. You'll be right there with me. That's the promise. And Bortland's like, ride or die. He's in there. I think at some point during this case, reality is going to hit. Hasn't hit yet, but I think reality is going to hit. That we're not getting out. We're not beating this case. It's my personal opinion that Melly's lawyers are throwing everything they can, trying to see what's going to stick, right? They're trying to murky up the waters so that we stop paying attention, or the jury will be confused. And the jury, whoever that jury is going to be, those 12, they're going to be confused. They're going to be more caught up in all the side antics that's going on instead of being caught up in the actual what's being presented in front of them. Like the fact that Melly was seen on video going into that car. Like the fact that when Bortland dropped the bodies off to the hospital, Melly was nowhere to be found. Like the fact that they had to go look for Melly, and Bortland did not mention that Melly was in the car with him at all until he was seen on video footage from the recording studio. That's when they said, oh, so he left. Look, see him in the video? He left with them. We got to get Mr. Demmons in here and hear his side of the story. What was he doing in that car? At what point did he get out of that car? I don't know if y'all saw all the evidence from the first trial, but that light, lumina light, when that light is turned on, you can actually literally see the blood splatter in the back seat of the car, and the blood splattered around. Because if I'm sitting, if I put my hand right here and I put this hand right here and somebody sprays paint all over this, when I move this, there will be no paint here. It will be a shape of this hand right here. That's exactly what it looked like in the back seat of right where Melly got in the car and was sitting behind Bortland. And not only that, trajectory evidence shows, and not only trajectory evidence, but forensic evidence shows, you know, you have experts here who have testified that, look, if somebody gets shot right there, that the blood is going to shoot back this way as they fall forward, and that's what happened, and the blood squirted that way, and it would have wet this way, and that's why the blood is on this part of Bortland and not on that part of Bortland. There's just too much evidence there that shows. Of course, at the end of the day, that could have been anybody that's sitting in that seat. But the thing is, Mr. Glass, Trayvon Glass, the one with the eye and the dreads, he already sealed it, because he's one that was there in the studio with them that night. He left with them that night, and he ended up wherever that red vehicle ended up that night. And he has already taken a stand, and he has already said, at no point did Melly ever get out of that other vehicle and get into our vehicle. So the last person, I forgot his name, that came on and said, Melly got out of that vehicle, I think Trayvon Glass probably was sleeping and didn't realize. But Melly got out of that vehicle. No. If you check Trayvon Glass's testimony, he said, yeah, he didn't wake up until they got to the guard gate, the guard shack, to enter. And when they entered, that's when he woke up. Well, guess what? His story lines up with video. There is a still pic of him sitting in the car at the guard shack that night, which corroborates with his story, like he said on the stand. Yeah, I jumped in the car, I dozed off. I don't remember if it was the front seat, back seat. It was like 5 years ago or whatever, but I know for a fact I dozed off, right? But Melly was not in our car, and our car did not stop anywhere. We went straight to the house. So that last person that testified, Melly's friend, talking about we stopped down the road, and there's no way they would have stopped down the road and Trayvon Glass not know about it, and he was in the same car. You don't fall asleep and just go into such a deep sleep that the vehicle you're in stops, that somebody gets in, and everybody has to push up and move over, make room for one more. And you don't, because you're so deep in sleep, and you don't recognize that all this is going on. The end result is he ended up at the guard shack. And just like he said, my eyes opened, I was there, I woke up. When we got there, there was no Melly in the car. Okay, where was Melly? Listen, y'all can take it for what you want to, but stop going around. People are entitled to feel how they feel based on if they're being real and based on the evidence. What I do find is that even the people who are reporting on this case, they try to be so biased because they know that there are a lot of people in the rap community that's actually rooting for YNW Melly. So if you put a video out and you sound like you're rooting for Melly and you're against the system, your video is going to get a lot of views. If you sound like, nah, I saw the evidence, I think he's guilty, then they don't mess with you anymore. They're like, I'm gonna go to somebody who says what I want to feel. At the end of the day, it's not about what we feel. It's going to be about what is proven in court. And this 3 press that they just put 3 new prosecutors on this case, yeah, it's going down. It's going down. I don't think Melly is going to be able to walk away from this one. I think what we're going to be witnessing is a young man who is very talented, who could have been something great and been out here touring the world, making a lot of money. We're going to have a different kind of an outcome story to this right here. We're going to witness YNW Bortland go to prison for quite some time. We're also going to witness YNW Melly go to prison for quite some time. And we're going to witness some justice served for Sack and Juvie. And that's just my take on it. It's not biased. It's based on all the evidence that was presented in the first trial, which I watched thoroughly. Let's not act like the first trial did not happen. I'll catch y'all on the next video. Stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell next to the subscribe button so you are notified every time a new video goes up or every time an update goes up on this channel, BrainFLoTv. And we're staying very close to this. I'm sourcing all the information. I'm bringing all the information to you. Take it with a grain of salt. It is what it is. I'm out. Peace.